Let's shift some things to the AFC, Breach. We can allow you to gloat a little bit before Wilson shows up, but break down the AFC for us before Brinson rejoins.
Yeah, I think we all know that I love this playoff picture right now. Of course, let's start with the 3 seed because why not start there? That's where normal people start. And that is the Cincinnati Bengals. Look at that. One win just bumps you all the way up into the top 3. It's amazing at 9-6. And, we saw what they did to the Ravens. They look like a team that can play with anyone right now. So obviously you've got the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the only team in the AFC that has clinched a playoff berth going into week 17. That is absolutely nuts. I mean, we were just talking about the NFC, obviously. You have 5 out of the 7 slots already wrapped up. We already know 5 playoff teams. AFC, we know 1 playoff team. The Tennessee Titans, 10-5, 2 seed, they could still miss the playoffs. The Bengals, 9-6, could still miss the playoffs. Bills, Colts, all of them, they could still miss the playoffs because there's only 1 team that hasn't clinched it. And then...
by the way, did you mention that that was my segue, the setup, when and I had to cut all my fans up here, and then my audio messed up, was if the Dolphins win on Monday night, they're in the playoffs.
Not there yet because we're not to the 7, but that is a good thing to know, Brinson, when we get there.
That was the segue through Monday night to the AFC.
With the Titans at 2, Bengals at 3, Bills at 4, Colts at 5, Patriots at 6, and Ravens at 7. But as Brinson said, the Dolphins will be in the 7th spot if they beat the Saints. And I think that's interesting because the 7th spot, we're saying that, it doesn't feel like the Vikings or the Falcons or those teams have a chance. The 7th spot really feels up for grabs in the AFC. Like, I don't even want to try to predict who's going to get it. It could be the Ravens, could be the Chargers, could be the Raiders, maybe the Dolphins.
Yeah, but I think because of the way that the AFC North will go, I mean, I feel like so you have Browns, Steelers next week, and then Browns, Bengals. Like I feel like the AFC North is going to knock aside a couple of teams, right?
I mean, I would think so. It does feel like only one AFC North team is going to make it unless the Ravens win out, because they could get in with the wild card at 10-7 if the Bengals win the division at 10-7. So I think that's because obviously with the Browns and Steelers both losing over the weekend, they can't get the 10 wins. And so the only way the AFC North is getting 2 teams win feels like if the Bengals and Ravens both finish 10-7.
So the Ravens win out and the Bengals go 1-1. Or the Bengals win the division either way and the Ravens win out. And they get in.
They both go 10-7.
Yeah, the Ravens are, of course, hosting San Francisco. Oh, no, the Rams, excuse me. Hosting the Rams this coming week. And then in week 18, the Ravens are Ryan Wilson.
Dun, dun, dun.
Where are the Ravens? Why can't I find the Ravens? What's going on here?
They're in Baltimore.
He shows up with a dunk.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. They're playing the Steelers. What had happened was I had a list of playoff contenders up, and the Steelers weren't on there, so I missed it.
Oh, reverse dunk!
Oh, what a big jam! Wallace took it in his hands and said, "Up and away, Dipsy-doo, Dunkaroo."
Wilson, you are not. What's up, buddy? How you doing? You're not a kid.
No, I'm not. But yeah, they still needed some help on the old broadcast. Hey, look, I'm just a worker bee.
Bzzz.
Smart of you. So we've covered the AFC playoff race. That we wouldn't have needed your input on that.
No, I came in just in the nick of time.
No, actually, just kidding. We covered the NFC. Here's the AFC. The Steelers are dead, right?
I told you that 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, whenever they fell the playoff race. Although I was quite excited. I didn't see this coming. After the Chargers got their doors blown off, the Steelers were the 7th seed for 2.5, 3 hours. So I enjoyed that for about 15 minutes until the Chiefs game kicked off, because I couldn't enjoy that, obviously.
And I mentioned this in Slack, but you guys thought it was just me passive-aggressively gloating, when in fact it was the words of a terrorized Bengals fan who has been watching this team for his entire life.
I thought you were going to say the words of a terrorist, which also fits.
If the Bengals if the Bengals lose to the Chiefs in week 17, which many people are going to be predicting the Bengals are an underdog, then the winner of the Steelers-Browns game is right back in the race for the AFC North.
If the Rams and Chiefs win in week 17, the winner of Steelers-Browns, so you're telling me there's a chance?
No. Did you see that game? Breach probably watched it twice. He was so excited about that
so sad.
beatdown.
But as Breach and I talked about on the Early Odds podcast, which you can find in your podcast feed or of course on YouTube, there's a pretty good chance that Ben Roethlisberger does something super dramatic, like leading into Week 17, announcing whether announces he's going to retire or leaks something out to the media about an injury he's been dealing with all year, or Matt Canada has stifled his play calling and creativity at the line of scrimmage. Any one of those things would immediately want me to bet on the Steelers in Week 17.
The last one I couldn't agree with more. I'm pretty convinced they told Matt Canada back in August, call every single play that will force Big Ben to retire because he is crushing it.
Yeah, he is trying to get Big Ben out of there. The Bengals, by the way, according to our simulations, with their dominating victory over the Ravens, went from 55.3% to win the division up to 71.7% to win the division, while the Ravens to win the division fell from 23.2 down to 7.4. Their playoff chances 38.7 down to 28.5. Baltimore's in a bad spot here with the 7th seed.
Well, they don't have a quarterback. Everyone's injured. The fans are going to come back to the last before this game, the three previous games that all led to Justin Tucker onside kicks at the very end of the game. 2 of those games were the 2-point conversions that didn't work out. And that's what, folks will be talking about. And also the biggest storyline is going to be how much money is Lamar Jackson going to get?
I mean, a lot. I don't know.
Not
Yeah,
a lot. I don't know.
He'll get more than Baker.
More than Baker Mayfield. That's
What are y'all talking about? All right, we can get to that when we talk about that game.
Here's what I'm talking about, though. If you are all right, guys, right now, who is your 7th seeded team in the AFC?
But we'll get to the Bills Patriots too. But the Patriots took a big drop in odds to win the division, but are still in the high 90s to make the playoffs at 9-6 with that 6 seed.
Well, it's because the Bills play the Falcons and the Jets.
Yes.
The Bills have probably one of the easiest schedules remaining, and all they have to do is win both those games, and they win the division.
And yet still, I have to sweat out this 10.5 over 10.5 wins.
Well, the Bills have the 28th easiest schedule, or the 5th easiest schedule. But you know what's funny is the Patriots have the 2nd easiest schedule, but that's by record. They play the Dolphins and they play Jacksonville.
Bills are now minus 800 to win the division at Caesars. Again, we'll get into these games a little more specifically in a minute.
Hold on, I want to answer Breach's question.
Yeah, let's answer Breach's question.
Oh, okay. Well, sometimes you like to ignore Breach, and I'm oftentimes in that boat, but this time I thought it was a good question.
Thank you.
So good a question. It might be a question I might ask Breach. Here's my concern, and this is just a personal observation. Every week, I have no idea who's good and who's bad. Every single week. So this week, I'm like, oh, maybe the Raiders are still in it because they found a way to win despite Derek Carr trying to throw interceptions. Another thought, maybe the Chargers are going to bounce back because they can't be that bad. Maybe the Dolphins do well on Monday night and make me reconsider. So that's where I'm at. I still think the Chargers find a way to get there, but gee, I mean, you can't do what you did in Houston and have anyone take you seriously. So I'll go with the Chargers, and I feel terrible about it.
Brenton?
That's sort of what my answer is going to be. I can't say the Dolphins because I called them frauds, and I can't. The Raiders have to. I don't think the Raiders. I don't know why the Raiders are at the Colts and then have to play the Chargers at home. Feels like absolute best case is 1-1 there, and 9-8 is not.
Are the Chargers going to win another game? They got Steelered and Washington football team by the Houston Texans.
They host the Broncos and they're at the Raiders. I think the Chargers go 2-0, but I don't feel good about it. Oh golly! I'll say. I mean, who's Stephen O have as the top projected like playoff team at this spot? I mean, the Ravens' schedule is both at home, but they're brutal. We don't know if they'll have a quarterback. Ay vey. I will say that I'll go Chargers too, and I don't feel good about it.
And the Ravens have the 4th most difficult schedule with that Rams-Steelers combo.